What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Punk Rock Radar. Today, we are doing our Pulley tier list. If it's your first tier list video with us, what we're going to do is go through each album, including Encore, chronologically and rank them S through D, S being the best, D being the worst. And for today's rules, there is a maximum of one S tier album. There is a minimum of one album per tier and a maximum of 2 albums per tier. So in this case, a D tier album is our least favorite by the band, but not necessarily a bad record. I am joined today by Dylan, aka Screeching Bottle Rocket from DyingScene.com, and a newer Pulley fan, Hudson Valley hardcore legend, Mr. Lewis. How you guys doing today? Excited for this list or what?
I was born for this moment. Like you said, I'm kind of, I was pretty late to the game with Pulley, so this is pretty fun for me. It was a chance to go back and really hit some of the ones that I didn't give a fair shake. So, it was just one of those bands that kind of slipped by me growing up, and it's strange because you love them so much, John. But it's let's have a good time. We'll see what happens.
All right, so let's get straight into it. I'm gonna pass it to the super fan first. We've got Esteem Driven Engine, which was released October 8th, 1996, shortly after Scott left 10 Foot Pole. So, Dylan, what are your thoughts on the debut record here?
This is it. No one shot at the big boy. I better make it count. Stand up everywhere.
It is a serviceable album. It is far from my favorite Pulley album. I'm going to start off in the middle here and put Esteem Driven Engine in the B tier. There's a few very good songs, like Cashed In, which I think was on that Nitro Records compilation, wasn't it? Was it at the something punk?
It's on this, Punkorama 2.
Okay. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't think it's on the Nitro thing. I'm an idiot. Anyway, Cashed In is a good song. Other than that, there's not a ton of like classic songs on here. The album kind of drags. There's a lot of like slower songs on here.
That's surprising, man. I thought you'd like this one. So I think this is one of the rare moments where I'm fairly certain this was the first Pulley album I heard. And I remember that I had One Shot. I think that's going to be the first Pulley song I heard because I had this crappy version from Napster that cut off like the last 5 or 6 seconds. And I really like this album. And I'm kind of winging my list here. I'm leaning like A or B. I'll go B. I'm going to play it safe and go with Dylan and save my A for later on. But I really like this album. I think One Shot, Cashed In, Silver Tongue Devil, Four Walls, Eyes Wide Open, all really good. Yeah, you know what? I'm going A. Forget it. I'm going A on this one. It's all fluid, guys, until we're locked in.
She's a good song, too. I'm listening to it now, and I just remember that guitar riff is badass.
Yeah, it's a good... For a debut album, it's pretty damn good.
So then Burns on drums.
So, Lewis, what are your thoughts here on Esteem Driven?
So this was like the one album that I owned and I knew forever. So this is, I'm newer fan to like some of the later Pulley, but this was an album I had back in the day. I think I got this one in the early 2000s. I mean, obviously long after it came out, but I think this one's pretty good for all the reasons you said. It's pretty straight ahead. It's the time it was released, I don't think it really stands out amongst its other peers, but in terms of other Pulley records, I'm going to put this one in B.
All right, good pick. All right, so Lewis and Dylan got a B, and I'm going A here. So we'll move on to the next album. I'll take us through this one first. We've got 60 Cycle Hum, released October 7th, 1997. So less than a year after the debut album. And I think it kind of shows. I think so. Dylan's doing the show and tell down there. This is what I'm talking about here. I think even Epitaph rushed this, because this is the most boring CD booklet of all time. There's nothing other than lyrics in this thing. You know, and Epitaph was doing some pretty cool booklets back then. I still think it's a good album. I think If is an awesome opener, and you got Mandingo on there. it's a good solid album, but this is probably my least favorite Pulley album by a wide margin. So I'm putting this in the D tier. Dylan, what are your thoughts here on 60 Cycle Hum?
What the fuck is really going on with me? Not a creature in a circus freak show. Really like
This is my S tier Pulley album.
No way. No way.
Yes, it is. Yeah, If is an excellent opening song. Really gets you in the mood. Locked Away is also really cool. Havasu, I don't know how you pronounce it. Mandigo. This is a great album.
I don't know if we've ever had an S and a D. Like, I don't know if we've ever been that far apart on any tier list. I could be wrong, but I think it's a first. Lewis,
It's gonna be another D for me too.
yeah,
I had this one in my D tier, and sort of for the reasons you said. I thought this record was really boring, and I kind of thought it didn't sound that good either. So I didn't really like production quality, and I liked it less than Esteem Driven Engine. So yeah, I didn't really take much from this one, and I obviously didn't have any nostalgia for it. So D tier.
yeah, Dylan, I am shocked that this is your lone S tier. I didn't see that coming at all. But I mean, good for you, man. If you hear something, it's decent. I mean, it's a decent skate punk album. But wow, that's like the shocker here. So we'll move along now. We'll go to this. I call it the self-titled. I think that's what Pulley fans call this. Released on March 23rd, 1999. So, Dylan, I want to pass it back to you now, because now you've got me really curious where the rest of this list is going. So walk us through your thoughts here on self-titled.
for every girl that ever broke my heart, for every fucked up friend that played that part. I have lost my faith in finding humanity.
This is where it starts to get tough deciding where I want to put these. This one was hard to rank. I was going between A and B, and ultimately decided on B for the self-titled album. Obviously, Working Class Whore is like Pulley's biggest song. It's the Pulley song. If you held a gun to someone's head and asked them to name a Pulley song, it would be Working Class Whore. So yeah, that's a great opening track. Silver Bay is also good. Gone is another excellent song.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a really strong B, but I like some of the other ones a little more.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm also going B. I think that where this album shines is possibly the lyrics. So, and it's got like an overall darker tone. The whole thing is really fast throughout, which I think, after this one, we kind of get some more mid-tempo and kind of rockish songs. This one just blazing all the way through. And yeah, man, the track list is loaded. Working Class Whore over it. I mean, everybody knows Second Best. I think it was on Punkorama 4 and that serial killer compilation that Fearless put out. I think everybody had. It's going right in the middle for me. B, I had it. This is the one with the Esteem Driven, and this one I was kind of flip-flopping. But I think overall I'm more attached to the songs on Esteem Driven. So I'm slotting it in B. Lewis, thoughts on self-titled?
Self-titled is going in the A category for me. So I really think this one was a really good jump up. I mean, I like those other albums, but I think this is like the first really good Pulley album, to be honest. A lot of the songs you guys mentioned, They Rebel, Working Class Whore, and Second Best, like you mentioned. I mean, I just like this album. It's, like you said, it's fast, it hits, and it sounds a lot more polished overall. So, big fan.
All right, so we will move along here to Together Again for the first time. So Lewis said self-titled is the first great Pulley album. For me, this is it. So as you guys know, at this point, this is let's see, October 9, 2001. So with me, like pop punk, I have like the there's the Dookie line, and there's the Enema of the State line, and then there's the Blink-182 self-titled line. And this is after that Enema of the State line. And I think you can really hear, what kind of style was big in punk now. This is way more pop punk focused, but what separates this from a lot of what other bands were playing now is this still has very strong skate punk roots. And I mean, songs like Hooray for Me, History Repeats Itself, Ocean Song is one of my favorite Pulley tracks, Lost Trip, Runaway. This, so here's the thing. In our top 10 punk albums of all time, I put Matters up there. I'll just say it, so you could probably see where that's going to go. But listening back to this, it's like real close. Like this is A++ for me. I think this is like a near flawless pop punk album. I thought for sure this was going to be Dylan's S, so that's why I'm really surprised. So I'm going A. If I could do 2S, this would without a doubt be there. So A tier for me. Dylan, what are your thoughts here? Together again for the first time.
When it's all been said and done, I know that I had fun. Take it to the grave with me, this music standard.
This is A tier for me. You already named all the good songs, so I won't name any because it would be redundant. Except Hooray for Me, obviously. That's another gun to your head Pulley song.
Yes.
But yes, it is a lot more pop punk oriented. I think this is the first album without Jordan Burns from Strung Out on drums. I don't remember who the drummer is now. But I think they had a lineup change, and the sound is somewhat different. It still sounds like Pulley though. I think they're one of the few bands that can pull off a change in their sound like that. This album reminds me a lot of like Life in General almost, but a lot more refined.
That's a good call out right there. I could definitely hear that. All right, Lewis, together again for the first time. What are your thoughts here?
I mean, maybe this is a hot take, but this was my S tier. So I really like this record quite a lot. You guys mentioned all the good songs. I also like Empty quite a bit, this album, but this album, this rips. I totally get your quandary. I went back and forth just to give a preview about between this and Matters. So, but I think this ended up firmly in my S tier. Was fully down. So,
Yeah, definitely not a hot take. I feel like this is a lot of people's favorite Pulley record. So, yeah, we're seeing eye to eye here. Everybody is A or S, and we'll move on to Matters. I already gave away my ranking. I had this in my top 10 punk rock or pop punk albums ever. I remember when I got this. I bought this at our mall, and I got this in Autopilot Off's Make a Sound on the same day. Still two albums that hold up to this day. To me, this is their most complete sounding album. It's very rock forward. It just sounds like they were listening to a ton of The Process of Belief. That's like, to me, this sounds like the last one mixed with that. And they even snuck in a Land of the Lost cover right in the middle of this, I think after track 7. So bonus points for that. I'm a big Land of the Lost Sleeve Stack fan. So yeah, album front to back, amazing. I think an underrated part of this, like the bridge in Blindfold, totally could have been another song. Stomach Aches, I remember. I mean, Insects Destroys, I think to me, that's their gun to the head song, is Insects Destroy. But yeah, overall, God, this album is so damn good. But S tier all day long. Matters. Lewis, let me pass this one to you now, since you've kind of prefaced it here. What are your thoughts on Matters?
One thing left to say, that's what you said to me was never true.
yeah, I mean, it's obviously a really great record. I'm putting this one in my A tier. For all the ones you mentioned, Insects Destroy, I think Insects Destroy blows away all the other songs. Yeah, it's on Spotify, so it's really popular. But ones that you mentioned, Poltergeist, right? That's on here. This is a really good. That's a really good song as well. So yeah, just overall quality. Like I said, it was really a choice between Wolves and Blood and Together Again for the first time. So yeah, but solid A for sure. A++.
Nice. All right, Dylan, your C and D tier are completely empty, so I'm getting a little nervous. So where are you gonna slot Matters?
No, it's A tier. Good A tier album. A+. It's like a SB. Yeah, great. Fucking idiot, man. This excellent album. Bad Reputation, probably the best chorus of any Pulley song, I would say. Obviously, Insects Destroy. The whole album's excellent. This could also be my S tier, depending on the day.
All right. So we're taking a little detour here. I really wanted to hit Encore. First of all, because we only had 7 albums. Second of all, once they combined Time and Sensitive Material and what's the other one? The Long and Short of It, we got pretty close to an album, so we're including it. So Dylan, I'll pass this one to you first because I could see that you don't care for it as much as some of the others. So let's hear your thoughts on it.
Yes, this is the D tier. It's not bad, but it's not a studio album, so I think it's kind of the default D tier for me. I couldn't rank this over anything else. I thought the EPs were pretty unremarkable when they came out. The only song from Time and Sensitive that I really like was Mandarin. And then the 3 songs on Long and Short of It are just pretty like milk toast Pulley songs, I would say. No Man's Flute is okay, but just not great songs.
Yeah, I'm pretty surprised, dude. So I am surprised, but I also see eye to eye on Long and Short. But I think the 5 songs on Time and Sensitive are all really, really good tracks. Like some of my favorite Pulley songs, like I played around with putting this in the S tier based on the strength of those 5 songs. Like Enemies, they don't really have another song like that with that kind of really aggressive part to it. Yeah, dude, this was A. When I wrote down my list, I was thinking A, but I knocked it down for Esteem Driven just based on quantity. But I'm gonna put this right in the B tier, and I don't even feel bad about it. So, Lewis, what are your thoughts here on Encore?
I guess I meet you guys around in the middle, so I put it in my C tier. So I agree with some of Dylan's points there. I thought they were pretty bland. And maybe it was just that half, but they felt like true B-sides, some of it. But then, like you said, John, some of those other tracks on are quite impactful and really good. So normally I don't like to give compilations a pretty high ranking unless they're like amazing. But yeah, I think this one was better than my least favorite. So a solid C.
Yeah, I think part of it was like I was so thirsty for more Pulley after Matters that when 5 years go by and you finally get 5 songs, I ate them all up. So maybe I'm a little skewed. I'm definitely curious what people are going to comment about that. But we'll move on here. We finally get another full-length album, 12 years after Matters. This came out November 18th, 2016 on El Jefe's Cybertracks label. We get No Change in the Weather. So Dylan, let me hear where you sit with this one.
Last life goes down a twisted path. Some things never change. The story's been so overplayed for me.
It's pretty good. It's no Matters for sure. I got it in the C tier. I don't dislike this album. When it came out, it didn't really hit me that well. I listened to it once and then I didn't really listen to it again until like last year, I think. So it was a while I was sleeping on this album. It's pretty good. It's not one of their best albums though. No Iron Team is good, and then there's one other song on here. I can't think of the name that's really good too. But just a decent album.
Yeah, I'm also going to see. I really like this album though. Like, I think I mentioned it kind of with Matters, but it kind of shows on this one too, where Pulley's just like they become like the master of that second chorus bridge. Like you mentioned, No Iron Team. Like when that kind of breaks down, it's like we took the long road back. Like that part is so awesome. And there's a couple other on here. I mean, obviously we got the Black Box cover, which is awesome.
Yeah, that's good.
You got Farewell, Other Side of Silence, Syndrome, all really good songs. Like this would truly be like on par with my B tier albums, but I think it's slightly below Self-Titled. So I'm gonna go with C here on No Change. Lewis, what are your thoughts on this one?
This was one I had never heard before, so I'm really fresh into this one. But like, I did like No I and Team as the starter, quite good as the opener. I'm also going to put it in C. It kind of just feels like it sits in there for me. Solid album. I think probably with a little bit more time put into it, it might maybe jockey out, take a B spot. But for right now, it's solidly in C for me.
Walk Away is another a good song on here. Forgot to mention that.
It's funny you say that because like I was reading this like interview with Scott, and he was saying they kind of felt rushed making it, even though it was like 12 years after the last album. They somehow, you know, they were rushed writing 10 songs, which is a little like, you know, shocking to me. I know he's got other stuff going on. We talked about it beforehand. But yeah, I mean, overall, decent album. And I'll take us into now our final record here. We got the Golden Life released last year. So when he was giving that interview, he was saying that they felt like, even though there wasn't a huge gap between these, that they felt like they had more time to flesh out songs for the Golden Life, which, again, I feel kind of surprised to hear that because I think this one is a step below No Change in the Weather. Like, there's definitely some good songs on here, like Northbound. Again, the bridge in Northbound, incredible. I had this on my best of 2022 list. I want to just preface what I'm about to say right there, but I'm going to put this one also in the D tier just because I think No Change is better. So I don't want to put them on the same tier. Really good punk rock album, but just not one of my favorite Pulley records. So Golden Life going down in the basement with 60 Cycle. But don't get it twisted. This is better than 60 Cycle. With that said, Dylan, I'm pretty sure that you like this album, but you only have C and D left. So what's it going to be?
It's my last C tier pick. I think it's very good. It's more of the same from No Change, but generally slower. Aside from a few songs, like obviously they always have a fast opening song, so Repeat Offender is probably the fastest song, and I would say the best on the album. The title track is also really good, but on the whole, it's a pretty slow record, I would say, that, which is surprising because Sean Sellers from Good Riddance is in the band now, and Good Riddance is usually like, you know, like balls to the wall. So it was interesting that was how this panned out. But I think it's a pretty good record. Slightly less good than No Change in the Weather.
Oh, so you agree with me there? All right. Yeah, I was looking at we had a poll up in the Discord, and it seems like most people like this better than No Change. So I'm glad to hear you agree. And Lewis, do you have a surprise for us? What are you doing here with Golden Life?
No, so I guess I'm aligned with those people because I like this one slightly better than No Change. So I'm putting this in as my last B tier. Do I have it? Oh no, sorry. Yeah, B2. I'm looking at my notes here. So I thought this was a pretty good record. Like I said, these are the last two I had never heard before this. Maybe the tempo change and kind of slowed down. They just felt, like you said, they're a little more fleshed out. They felt a little meatier. Kind of like the change of pace too from the straight ahead fast stuff. So I thought it was a pretty good record. I think maybe once again, if I listen to these two again, they might change in the rankings. But like first listen, I like it. I like it better than Mother for sure.
All right, so here is our list. I gotta say, like, I'm still kind of floored by Dylan with 60 Cycle Hum in the S tier. He had mentioned before we started recording, like, because I don't know, one of us was kind of shit talking it, and he said S tier. I thought it was gonna be a joke. So, but that's our list, guys. Any closing thoughts from either of you guys before we wrap this up?
Yeah. So I'm sorry, Dylan. You can go first. Like,
I would say Pulley's pretty impressive in their consistency. I can't think of a ton of bands that have been around as long as they have that are still putting out like pretty good records. Not their best, but pretty good serviceable albums. You don't see Green Day doing that.
All right. And Lewis, what did you have to say?
Well, you know, like you guys said, you guys were always big Pulley fans. I was kind of late to the game. I think Dylan said this before the thing, or you said it, John, that they're kind of get a reputation maybe as a punkorama fans. And I think that's kind of the way I always looked at them. Like that was kind of like my impression of them. But after kind of getting the records another fair like shake and listen through, they are very impressive, very consistent, like Dylan said, and some of these definitely should be in the classics that I just kind of slept on, you know, or just didn't think was that good after original list. So definitely a great band.
It is weird that they were always kind of like one of the more obscure bands. Like they were on Epitaph. Like there's like no reason why they should have been pushed to the back. But you're totally right, and I feel like a lot of people in our generation were like that. It was just a band on Punkorama, but the strength for me of like self-titled through Matters is like it's pretty up there with the rest of like the Epitaph bands, I think. And it's, man, like we took, I want to say close to 2 months to record this list, and usually if it's gonna take that long, I am burnt out on whatever we're listening to, like especially that Ramones one. I still haven't listened to a single Ramones song after that list. But these, like, if we wrap this up, I have no problem putting on a Pulley record. That's to me how good these albums are, especially Together Again and Matters. So I'm glad we finally got to do this. For you guys still watching here, Fat Wreck won the poll. Now there's some debate as to what exactly we're gonna do with Fat Wreck. I put up a poll on Instagram and in the Discord link down below. By the way, if you want to chat with us, it looks like it's going to be down to these 3 choices. So if you have a choice, if you already voted, just vote again, because I'm not thrilled with how the results came out. So it's going to be either Live in a Dive, the series ranking. There's 10 albums, so we'd rank those. My issue with that is that it's going to be nearly impossible to not just be ranking the bands that are on there. And there's like Sick of It All, Subhumans. Like, of course, they're not going to be up there with Lagwagon, No Use, Face to Face. So that's my issue there. Number 2 option is 1992 through 1997. So the first 25 full lengths. And the second or the last one would be debut albums, which I kind of think is the most interesting personally. But if you guys have any feedback on that, or if you have an argument for doing Live in a Dive, I'd love to hear it. Yeah, but before we close out, Lewis, I don't know if you saw how the poll shook out, but based on those 3, which one are you kind of feeling that we should do?
I think we've talked about the debut albums before. I think that one is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So I would probably do that one.
And Dylan?
Let me ask a question. Would it be Fat Wreck debut albums?
Yes.
Or the band? Okay, so like even if the band released shit on another label before?
So I think it should be like the
first
core Fat bands, right? Like your Lagwagons, No Use, Good Riddance.
What like Love Equals Death?
I mean, maybe they. So like the bands like
do the Flatlines, right?
Yeah,
the
like
first album was not on Fat Wreck, so and I think they're
They
one of the strongest.
reissued it though.
yeah, that's a tricky one. See, what I'm talking about is like I wouldn't have the War and Errorism on the debut album list. Just it doesn't really make sense in that scope. So that's another thing we'd have to figure out.
We can workshop it, but we need Love Equals Death on there.
Okay. Well, I mean, ask and you shall receive. I have no issue putting it on there. But yeah, that's it, guys. That's going to wrap this one up. Make sure and include your rankings down below, and make sure you join our Discord, because that's where we're going to decide what the next video we're going to do is, and all kinds of other stuff. You want to hang out, talk to us, ask us questions, whatever. Share your vinyl collection. The little sub Discord that Dylan started has been really fun. But yeah, that's it. As always, thank you for watching, and we will see you all next time.